Hi, Terry here again. A few years ago, I wrote a book called Retirement Reimagined. You can see it over my shoulder here. But in that book, I explored a different perspective on retirement. Retirement, instead of it being a time to step back, to retire from engagement, to see retirement as a time of decline or settling in or stopping, suggested imagining retirement being a time to maximize areas of our life, to expand areas of our life. And before I forget, the book is available on Kindle, but it's pretty expensive there because you can see there are a lot of colored pictures and so on. So color makes for a very, I apologize for the sound, they're mowing the lawn outside, but color pictures make for a very large download in an Amazon Kindle. That means expensive. So I'll work on it this week to find a way to make the booklet available through my website, which will be much less expensive. But anyway, what I'm doing in this current series of 7 videos is looking at 7 arenas or 7 areas of life that I believe we can expand, we can maximize our life. And I'm going through a review of my own life. I'm looking at what I wrote then and thinking, how am I doing with applying the research, the writing that I did a few years ago? And it's a simple circle, 7 different areas of life that we can maximize, that we can expand. Last week I talked about expanding physical health or maximizing our physical health. This week we'll look at maximizing emotional health. How am I doing? And just help you, maybe prompt you to think a little bit about if you are in retirement or in that midlife or beyond, how might you expand or maximize your emotional life in ways that you could not have a decade or 2 decades ago? And then we'll go on to maximizing, to expand our heart, our mind, our self, our morals, our faith. But this week, expanding or maximizing our emotional health. And I'll just go to the page and think about some things. One of the factors I thought about in retirement to expand, to seek a deeper emotional health is 2 things are in our favor as we are in midlife, or for me, beyond midlife, later decades of life. And the 2 advantages, great advantages we have as we age are both space and season. Emotional health, we can gain more, we can work toward more emotional health, first of all, because we have space. I think of before, when I was in career life, working as a developmental teaching pastor in mega churches, I did see counselors, psychologists, seeking to maximize my emotional health, but I didn't have much space to attend to it as far as time and time to sit back and think, because I was running all the time. And you might have been raising family and career and work and taking care of a house that just didn't have much space for it. And in retirement, reimagining it rather than as a time where we no longer have this or this or this or that, think of it as a time that has more space to attend to the inner life, attend to the emotional agenda that we have. And in addition to space, there's also season. As we mature, I believe we have a greater capacity to handle those things, that to deal with, to look at, to befriend, to attend to those things that we put aside in the past. Maybe old hurts or wounds or questions or uncompleted agenda You know, those things we keep in, I call them emotional closets. Things that hurt, or things that I wonder about, or things that still are wounds, or are raw. Put them in a closet somewhere because I was too busy or not yet ready to handle it. But as we age, I believe that we are given more capacity to deal with things that we've set aside in the past. More capacity to deal with challenges that before were simply too much. So emotional health. Some ideas that I had for that. How to go about that? How do we seek more emotional health, or dealing with those things that we've put aside, or things that are in the shadow? And I have a list of things that I wrote down that might do in retirement. The first is talk to a therapist with the goal of seeking emotional, spiritual, and/or relational wholeness. Therapist. Now, I am not doing that right now, and I haven't done that in the last couple of years, though I spent years in therapy. But right now, for me, I have a couple of very close friends. One in particular who comes out of the pastorate, has a great capacity to listen, to ask me tough questions. So I might be talking to a friend or a spiritual guide or a therapist and just saying, hey, I'd like to talk with someone who could help me deal with some of these things. Oh, second one is important. Learn a meditative practice, such as deep meditation, yoga, contemplative prayer, whatever name we put to it. That for me is so very important. For me, it's quite often attached to my meditation beads that come out of more of a Buddhist type tradition. And I learned a lot about meditation from my Buddhist brothers and sisters because they've been working on this. They're specialists in it. So it's like going through and breathing, just very quietly breathing. And that's one of the things I do early mornings. Just sit very quietly before there are lawnmowers or construction crews or family members, just sitting quietly and meditating and letting those emotions percolate up and learning how to simply look at them rather than get upset over them or try to deal with them or try to fix them. Just that meditation of letting all that agenda that maybe is beneath that membrane that keeps things unconscious, let it come up and just sit with it. And one of the little things that I do for myself might seem kind of strange, but somebody prompted it, probably from the Buddhist tradition, of just saying, oh, I remember you, talking to an idea or a feeling or a hurt or an emotional cluster that has a lot of energy. Oh, I know you. You are, then I name it and I talk to it, befriending it, and just let it be. So learn a meditative practice. Spend time reading a page or two from books by mystics, by sages, those that have dealt with this, have found some deeper emotional healing, and reading just a page or two. I love to read from Richard Rohr, for example, is a Catholic priest who has helped me a great deal, and he has a daily email that I read every morning from the Center for Action and Contemplation, a daily email, just reading through it and letting the words kind of soak over me, or it might be from your scriptures, but very sit quietly with a phrase or a paragraph. And then this one I wrote, ruthlessly eliminate busyness from your life. One of the sadnesses I have is when I talk to people that are retired and say, how are you doing? And say, I've never been busier in my life. It's like, oh, I know it's a source of pride, or they're not just sitting around all day. I get that, but to eliminate busyness so that those emotions can find space again, and protecting that space. One of the questions I asked a friend when I first retired said, what am I going to do? How am I going to, it feels like my basket is empty. now that I've retired? How am I going to refill my basket? And I remember him sitting back and smiling and saying, oh, Terry, maybe you just learn to live with an emptier basket. More space. Eliminate busyness. Then unlock the closet door of your heart and memory, the one that stores old fears, hurts, and grudges. I mentioned that. Face those fears, hurts, and grudges head on, giving yourself and others compassion and grace, and watch them lose their fire. Just sitting with them, not solving them, not finding answers, and maybe need to talk to a friend or a therapist about it, but just sitting with them. Spend time with people who ooze compassion, wholeness, and grace. And then also maybe find space from those people that do the opposite. Those, I call it a wake, kind of like in boating, those that come through your life and there's a wake of unrest and turbulence and so on. There are other people that enter my life where I spend time, and after they leave, there's a calmness. So finding those people that bring you that calm, that space, those that maybe you can talk to about a hurt and they don't try to solve it. They don't say, oh, you think that's a problem, wait. No, just they listen and they're very caring about it. Well, I'll stop there. Video's getting long already. But I would just suggest that retirement, that time, midlife and later, especially if you have more spaciousness of time available, is a great time to maximize your emotional health. Dealing with things, feeling deeply without having to react, without having to fix it, without having to fear it and say, oh, I need to put that back in the closet and lock the door again. It's just letting things percolate up, sit with them, befriend them. And I believe that it is possible, even amazingly healing, to befriend a hurt. Rather than putting it aside or burying it, just sit with it, listen to it, name it, and see how the energy dissipates. So, retirement reimagined. An amazing time to seek emotional health. Talk to you next time.